Peace, melanated family. How is everybody this evening? You have Kashama Sankofa here, along with my brother Duke the Root. Can you say hi, Duke?
Hey, I'm good, people. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome.
Welcome
Glad
to
be here.
Melanated Solutions Media Broadcast. Absent this evening is our sister Bliss. Hopefully, she will be joining us for the next broadcast. So let's keep our fingers crossed and keep our sister in our thoughts as she takes this time off. Now, before we get started, we have our show of current events, aka What's Poppin'. All right, but let's first do a little housekeeping. We want to ask that everybody like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. Also, like on Facebook, and if you can, try to migrate your way over to YouTube. And also remember that we will be opening up the panel to the audience members to come in and speak and say what's on your mind. Try to keep it brief. And try to make sure your background is presentable, right, Duke?
Yes, please, please that.
All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll that current events video, Adam. All right. So, well, first and foremost, some very, sad news about our brother DMX, who passed away today. As you saw in the video, it said apparent drug overdose. We haven't, we can't speak on that. Factually, we don't know any of the details, but we do know that brother passed. I know that he was immensely talented, and that he will be especially missed.
Yeah, what I want to add is the latest that I've seen that they're reporting is that it was a heart attack. He died at age 50, y'all. And so in efforts to honor his life and if you loved or care about him or whatnot else, I do think it's very important that we recognize that it has been estimated that substance abuse usage has increased by 30% over the course of this pandemic. Across the nation. And if you did not know, heart disease is a leading cause of death amongst Black people, period, which includes a myriad of different issues with the heart. And so looking at the two circumstances that led to this brother's death, I just think it's important that us as a community start really negotiating, finding ways to navigate these particular conversations so that way we do not end ourselves early as a result. So, yes.
So yeah, there's that. Not necessarily keeping in line with the video because y'all know the whole show is about what's popping. So we got a whole bunch of current events that we're going to be going through, providing you that critical Black analysis, providing you that new Black media perspective that you all crave for, our melanoids. So, but first, Duke, I don't know if you heard about this. The Latinos in this Chicago suburb rejected naming their school or renaming the school after Barack Hussein Obama, calling him deporter in chief. You heard about that?
No, because it's an apt name. I mean, it's clever as a poet. I can appreciate that that particular creativity. But no, I did not hear about that specifically. But I am not surprised at all. And I know that we're focusing on the Latino community here, but we forget about how many Black folks of the diaspora that his administration was responsible for deporting out of this land. And so for them to take a stand against renaming the school that, I say yay to it. I mean, if anything, a renaming of a school, in my opinion, should be inside of communities that, one, represent his particular politics and designation. And I'll end it there, the one there.
Well, what I like about the story, I like how the Latinos, they haven't been fooled by the narrative or the propaganda pushed at us about Obama in regards to immigration or or Latino people. The whole dreamers and the whole thing. It's like he puts up this image like he was the this progressive freedom loving what I'm saying individual when in fact he was a white imperialist in blackface basically.
Mm-hmm.
And them Latinos saw through that, and I mean, like you said, yay to them. And I wish more people would kind
Mm-hmm.
of see things for how they truly are and not how they
Now,
want
what I
to.
will say is that I want them to continue this advocacy and to be just as active when the perpetrator is a white man or white woman. That's what I will give on that particular component. But yeah, uh,
So in addition to that, this is some more music news. Lil Nas X has a good
my
song with
buddy
the devil.
Little Nas.
Lil Nas X and the devil.
Oh, good,
Woo!
good, good, gracious Nas. Well, did you see the video? That's the thing. Did you
I
see the video?
I put myself through it at least once.
You put yourself through it through once. So I saw
Yeah.
the video, and for me, I was just like, "This is a lie." The storyboarding makes very little sense. Like I'm looking at it through an artistic lens, right? And then I was like, the CGI devil is like horrible looking. Like this is worse than what they do in Hellboy. And then
Working with Tyler
I
Perry.
see the rest of the communities react to it, and it's so many different perspectives. Like I've seen faith-based Black people like this is hypocrisy and heresy, and oh my God, we're going to hell, and I can't believe it. I've seen that community. I've seen other queer identified communities calling this the second coming of Jesus, saying that this is the most prolific liberation thing they ever saw in their life. And then I've seen white Christians who say that this is, super demonic and evil as well. But their particular perspective, I always have a different take with. But when I look at intercommunally, I'm like, I think my very first response was not Christians watching shows called Lucifer and watching Supernatural got something to say. Not that. That was my initial response. And then secondly, for those who do not know, I'm not the biggest fan of Christianity. And so I was just like, are we really spending this much time debating a belief system that so many people have died because of, right? Like so many people. So it's like, if this man wants to make a mockery of a belief system that he feel has harmed him, it has not served a purpose in his life, then I'm like, go ahead, do what you do. I'm gonna still go ahead and watch all this devil stuff in Marvel films and all these other things. You're not
Well,
gonna stop it.
I'm kind of proud of my timeline on social media in my community because I saw a lot of people who were saying, well, the devil isn't real, one. While Lil Nas is an artist, there is a certain level of green lighting. And when I say green lighting, I mean a pass given to individuals when they are willing to put forth, controversial material that's going to especially trigger discord within our community, within Black people. If it's gonna get us, if it's gonna get us talking about something fake like the devil and not talking about something real like Derek Chauvin, then they've accomplished what they set out to do.
Yeah,
I think
I
the
think
problem is,
where I sit with it is that oftentimes when these conversations are had, it takes away the complete agency of the person or the person who did it. And it's like, I know for a fact that Little Nas chose to do this. This is what he wanted to do. This is the life that he wants to portray. However, it does not go without saying that the people in charge of promoting, the money going into the
yeah,
budgets, and who's putting the yes and okay as far as who can produce the videos.
that's why I said green light.
That's definitely orchestrated. That part is definitely orchestrated and definitely a control mechanic. It's so many different things. Like what I will say is that for anyone watching who may have had the lens of this may be harming children, I just hope that we are all engaged with children's education and a lot more meaningful engagement, as opposed to when a music video comes out that you may feel uncomfortable with. So that is where I sit with that. But let's read some of these comments here.
Yeah.
So Soga said Lil Nas X is still in the news. Actually, yes, there was something else that he did very recently this week. I don't remember the exact things, but we know it went from the music video, followed up with the shoes, and then he did something else in order to, still following it. He's a promotional social media genius, people, if y'all did not know. Like, even with the act of Old Town Road going viral, that was a lot of work on his social media accounts in order to make that happen, because it wasn't something that happened naturally within the music sphere. And he's very, very, very great at self-promotion. But let's see. Tamina Rose.
Tamina and Moses.
Yeah, said no one hates Obama. It's just that he looked after the folk who had no respect for him while ignoring the ones who put him in office. I don't know if I can't say that no one hates him, because I know quite a few people who do. Yeah, I think Obama's legacy is something. Of course, we know that no one's perfect, right? Like that's the thing. And Obama's legacy is something that is controversial in the sense that there were a lot of things that he could have done that he didn't do, and then there were a lot of things that he was trying to do that he couldn't do, right? And so that is where I sit at with his particular political campaign. I saw you side eye over there.
White power and blackface.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the
Obama had an agenda, and that agenda was to do exactly what he did.
He said it himself that him growing up as biracial, he did not really feel the call to be like this quote unquote black messiah. And I'm paraphrasing this moment, but he did an interview where he talked about how his growing up, he did not have the traditional black quote unquote upbringing. And so
he's raised by white people.
Yeah, and he said therefore his
racist
alignment, his engagements, it was a different lens. That was something straight out of his mouth. But let's see, we got Moses. Welcome in, Moses. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Yeah, Moses has everything. Comment.
Nas X hurt the community with one. Connecting same gender love with Satan is not good. I guess. I mean, so for me, that's all perspective based. I think for anyone that is tied to Lucifer as a way of saying that this is negative and we don't need this, then fine. But I do know that among younger generations, the idea of rejecting Christianity and making a mockery out of it is just like their go-to way of doing it. So it's not even like, for him, it's not even tying Lucifer to homosexuality. It's just that you said this is it, and it's like, all right, cool. Well, I'm gonna embrace this then.
Another thing is too, while I understand how the church hurt Lil Nas X, what I see a lot from gay identified voices is that the struggle is they're very comfortable with fighting the struggle around sexuality, and we know that that's because they get green lighted and get supported and all of that. But I mean, as dark as Lil Nas X is, with the African features that he has, you cannot convince me that he's never been made to feel less than because he was black. Now, my point is, he's given this pass to be as extreme as possible when saying basically fuck you to the people who made him feel bad for being a homosexual. But if he carried that energy over, you know what I'm saying, to combat his primary struggle around oppression.
Yeah, he definitely took a much more docile approach, much more communal approach, if you will, when it came to the backlash that he was getting even for Old Town Road, because we forget that him being a black person having a top country hit was not something that was received well in certain communities either, but he didn't have a whole, after your Tim boots, after your hats and your Humpty Dumpties, all that, he didn't have that kind of response.
Speaking of misdirected energy, we also got Jeezy,
young Jeezy, Akon and Young. Yeah, that's about the last time I remember. So young Jeezy, if any, is a rapper. Wasn't he part of Lil Wayne's group? What was the name? Hot Boys, wasn't it? That was the name. No, it wasn't that. I'm bad.
No, I remember Jeezy being part of Hot Boys, bro.
He wasn't part of Hot Boys.
Dude, you kind of young, I think.
I
Because I
ain't
was in
messing with
middle
hip
school
hop
when
like
Hot
that.
Boys was out,
I
so I
ain't
know
gonna
you
lie.
probably was too young to be.
Let's see. Hot Boy members. I feel terrible.
You know what? Really, I'd probably rather talk about Lil Wayne and the Hot Boys than talk about Jeezy Clown behind and his fiance or whatever
Oh,
Jeannie
I
Mae
am getting
is.
all kinds of black card removed. He was definitely not in Hot Boy.
Oh yeah, dude. Just sit your cookout invitation on the dresser and wait for us to call you.
Well, if I'm disinvited, Young Jeezy should be disinvited too. So
Oh, well,
tell him why.
young Jeezy, I mean, he been left and he went and joined the whatchamacallit. Asians don't have cookouts. They have what, like
Um.
Chinese New Year. Yeah,
Okay.
he's invited to the dinner for Chinese New Year, but he left his cookout pass. But the story is Jeezy and Jeannie Mae donated $50,000
Mm-hmm.
to start a wedding registry.
I think the wedding. If I read it right, it was the wedding registry, and the proceeds were going towards Stop Asian Hate organizations and in political movements and engagements. So I did a little bit of research trying to find out. I was like, all right, well, you did this. I understand you married an Asian woman, so that's fine. But I wanted to see what was your history with Black movements prior, and at least on a financial level, there's no proof of where his financial investments have been. Now, he has been a spokesperson against police brutality. He has uplifted the movements of grassroots organizations and things like. Do we need Duke to get a hip hop encyclopedia? No, I don't want to be traumatized that way either. But I'm good. But I went through to try to find some of this history, and all I can see is him being a mouthpiece towards Black spaces, Black movements, Black engagement. But the moolah, I have not seen a money trail for it, and he may have donated, because this is the other thing. I will say this: I will give some Black celebs this credit. At least there are a number of Black celebrities who quietly donate to Black movements and engagement, but as a people, it is very clear that we need more visual stimulation. We need more proof of individuals doing this work, because when people are doing it quietly, then it still looks like no one is fighting for us.
Well, my take is don't look for them to do the work. Honestly, do the work yourself and stop looking to celebrities, straight up. Because I mean, these people have, and I'm not just down in celebrities, like you say, there are a lot of them that do the work quietly. Hey, Lana. There are a lot of them that do the work quietly. But I mean, they're doing that because they're Black.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And you're Black, so you do what you do. When some of these people have millions of dollars as an incentive to not fight for you, in fact, they get incentives to undermine us. Why in the hell do we expect them to? Why are we looking surprised? When I saw it, I was just like, this clown.
Yeah.
This $1 million plantation.
Look, I don't want to rag on him too hard. I didn't even know what group he belonged to. He had to be in a group though, right? Like he wasn't just a solo hip hop artist. I don't know.
I don't.
Someone let me know.
Being in the group, can you let it? Yeah.
But yeah, Tamina Rawls said that Prince was one of them. I can give credit here. I mean, I'm based here in Baltimore. I know for a fact, seeing the checks cut, that when it came to the uprising, Beyonce and Jay-Z donated a significant amount in order to get a lot of the young protesters out of prison during that time. However, it was still one of those things that you had to keep under wraps. You could not talk about. You could not, all those different things. And so it's unfortunate that our quote unquote, I won't even say leaders, our public figures, not leaders, public figures, are not deeply invested in being representatives of this movement. Like I know it's because they fear backlash, not only from the institutions and white people and organizations that they have to work with every day, but also from us, because there's a group of them who feel like, well, nothing is never enough, and so they don't want to get into arguments and fights that way. I get that. However, we have to be as brazen as Little Nas X.
Hey,
when it comes to fighting for Black Power.
I'm telling
That's
you,
what
if
I'm at.
if black people were as brazen and don't give a you know what as Lil Nas X when it comes to fighting for black issues, I don't know. Eyes haven't seen and ears haven't heard. To go back to the whole Christian religious references. But so there was a lot going on in music. You know, we had that the latest of legendary verses, which was Earth, Wind, and Fire versus the Isley Brothers. And
Versus
I
Steve
really, really
Harvey.
love Earth, Wind, and Fire, but I'm a fan of the Isley Brothers too. However, I couldn't sit down and watch that whole thing, dude. You know, I had to go get highlights and stuff. But I think one of the main critiques of the verses was of Steve Harvey.
In fact, Adam, if you could show us what Black Twitter had to say. Say, I never said shut up, Steve, so many times in one night I felt like Carl Winslow, hashtag versus Family Matters. The truth of the matter is you, like I say, I finished a sentence for you. It was definitely Earth, Wind, and Fire versus the Isley Brothers versus Steve Harvey. He took up so much time, so much history in space during that particular movement. I know I saw other people doing public posts saying that I feel like Steve Harvey's mustache want to sing at this point.
Steve can sing, though. You know that, right?
I had no idea.
Steve can sing.
Sing like where's the proof? Where we should have had a YouTube.
Okay, you need to go back and watch old episodes of the Steve Harvey Show from the 90s.
Okay.
When he was Richard the Entertainer had the group, and Ronald Isley actually used to do guest appearances on the show because he was a member of their group back in the day. And they used to say, when the phone hits the fan, all the people want to dance. Come on, get with me. You don't remember that?
You're trying to get his record deal right now on this live with me at this moment, people.
Yeah, man.
We see how we are.
But yeah, though. But on some real tip though, I said this back when Gladys and Mama Patty, Auntie Gladys, Auntie Patty, whatever we call them.
Yeah, I watched. I want to say about a good 85% of that. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched a good amount of that.
We are dynamic people, as Dr. Claude Anderson say. We are a peculiar people. We are distinguished people, man. No, this is again just like I said about Gladys and Patty. Earth, Wind, and Fire, and the Isley Brothers. Them brothers are old as dirt, and they can still make us move our feet. Like there's nothing outdated or not hip about them. You know,
and apparently can make some of our sisters feel quite engaged and enthused because there was quite a few posts about Mr. Ron Isley. Still, I remember being young and like Ronald Isley being like this smooth person that all the women want. I remember that when I was young, and I had no idea he would still have this kind of. I heard his wife 44.
Yeah, his wife is 44 and he's 104.
Yeah. You ain't gonna hear nothing about no quote unquote predatory relations there in those arguments, but it's definitely
good and wrong now. Don't get it twisted. She's good and wrong. Yeah.
It's definitely a curious time gap. It's not right age gap.
So while we had all this, good stuff going on in our communities, we also we suffered another loss. Sister Midwin Charles, who was a journalist, I believe for MSNBC, just passed away at the age of 47.
Yes.
Quite young. Now, what makes this story, a little deeper than just someone dying at a young age is that she took that thing, yang. She got that shot. I'm not gonna call it what it is, but everybody know what that shot is. That thing, yang. She took it, and she made a comment on Twitter about not feeling well, and next thing you know, she was gone.
Yeah.
And from what I hear, you can't even find that tweet anymore because it's been scrubbed.
Well, all we know is that at this time, the reports that say that no cause of death has been found. However, on a completely separate note, Johnson and Johnson vaccines have been pulled in certain places. They've been put on pause simply because way too many individuals have reported feeling unwell directly after feeling the shot. However, the CDC has done investigations, and they still say that they find no safety issues. And so, the Johnson and Johnson, it is estimated that it'll be back in rotation very soon. But the latest news is that at least about 18 people had reported feeling unwell in a close examination of time. They've all been tested and reviewed and sent back home. However, one is still kept in the hospital at this point. And so it's just, be careful, y'all. And remember, if you did not know, because it's kind of confusing out there, there's different strands of the vaccine. And so different ones have reported different symptoms and adverse reactions with different groups of folks. So pay attention to those numbers.
And we've done plenty of broadcasts talking about the Rona. We brought on Dr. Cynthia McKinney. We actually brought her on to talk about some other stuff, but
yeah. But she said, no. My people need
no. This is important, and that's she came with a wealth of information.
Yeah, specifically about COVID itself, because the vaccine wasn't even being talked about at that moment. But she really went in depth about what we're looking at here as far as this pandemic.
That's definitely one person that the powers that be want to shut up. Yeah. They don't want that sister talking. That's a powerful sister right there. But what do you know about this man who drove into the barricade in DC? That was right in your backyard, dude.
So I didn't. So this is the other thing. I'm bad, y'all. I don't watch or read a lot of news articles, but I will say that I hadn't seen anything pop up. It was you who gave me the info about it, but no one was talking about it. It's not on my timelines. It's just not a thing that was publicized. Now, normally, an incident like this would be publicized because, ironically, the person who drove into the barricade was a black man. Mm-hmm. However, there has been very, very little coverage about this incident. And normally in a situation like this, it's like, yes, let's put this everywhere. Like a black man attempted to run over and kill police and succeeded at it for one of them.
Well, he was killed, mind you. Yes. They did not apprehend him alive. To my knowledge, all he had was a knife. And they still killed him, of course. And there's a lot of strange things happening, Duke. Tamina Ross says, was he suffering from depression?
I'm going to say my answer to that, Tamina, is he was black man in America.
Yeah. That's about just like we keep seeing these individuals, these black men, and all of them are wearing pink for some reason. They either have a pink hoodie, a pink jacket, some kind of pink Stardust looking blazer, pushing over old Asian people, right? And they just look weird. And every time we check into their background, one dude had already killed his mother. Why was he even out on the streets, right? Another one, I think was also had mental illness. And then we get this event where this brother drives into a cop barricade. We don't know nothing about him other than the media definitely tried to hammer on the fact that he admired Minister Farrakhan. And they actually tried to make a connection between him and the Nation of Islam. But one thing about white media is they will either double down on their lies, or if you come hard enough dispelling their lies, they forget they said anything about it. They will just drop it and act like nothing ever happened, and you are to go along with it. So those are two patterns that I notice happens with white media when things are being pointed out as bizarre and full of untruths. They'll drop it if they don't have enough to double down.
I was looking into make sure, because Tamina had asked, was this the brother in Rock Hill? And this was at the U.S. Capitol building. So it just, if you type in man rams car into police at U.S. Capitol barricade, you'll find more info about this. But there's just been very little coverage about it. And this happened, at least the article was published about 5 days ago.
Yeah. Soga, I was about to call his name. Soga says no account of the driver's life has been covered in the news. Of course, the black man always dies in these situations. They're providing very little background. What they tried to do was that whole smoke screen about them being part of the Nation of Islam, as if it even matters. But I think it's always important to point out when they lie. Okay, so that was something else happened in Rock Hill with an NFL.
Yeah, so I'm unfamiliar with this one. In fact, when we open up the lines, if you feel free to share with us, Tamina, give us a little bit more about this because I'm unfamiliar. NFL player killed an ER doctor. His wife was working, 2 kids in South Carolina. Did not know about this story.
Mm.
Um,
So, well, also in other news, we got supposedly some White Lives Matter rallies allegedly being planned across
for
the
2
country
days from now, right? We
on
got
April
two
11th.
days. We got pull on up and
So the KKK was supposedly handing out pamphlets, advertising it. There has been word in the media that the Proud Boys have signed on to be part of it. And
mhm.
family, watch your back on April 11th. You know, this is
Yeah.
why it's important to be part of organized political life, organized Black political life, so that when things happen like this, you got people you can call up and say, "Hey, what are we doing about the 11th? Right?
Mhm.
How are we going to protect ourselves? How are we going to make sure we good when this caucasity is taking place?"
Yeah, it's still interesting to me that the KKK somehow still have the right to peacefully gather. Now I know that I live in a racist society and that white people have done everything in order to protect white people, and white people are vicious and vile, and I know it's evil. I know all of it is evil, but to be that evil where you can't even peacefully gather in a group of 5 people going to the mall as black youth. I don't. It boggles my mind that this group, which we have detailed history of the atrocities that they committed, is not labeled and considered illegal. Is not. It's just not. I promise you, and it's not even just black people. I promise you, have there been any other demographic of people that have that kind of history with an organizational name, institution, anything, they would be gone.
Well, they are. The Ku Klux Klan is as American as apple pie.
Mm. But
There
wait a
are,
minute now. I like cold apple pie. God damn
well, you American too.
it. Wait a minute now.
You've been
Damn.
conditioned as well. You know, you
I
got
mean, sweet
people
potato pie is better, but
you got
cold
people that
sweet
like
potato
white
pie.
power. You know, you got some black people that are in love with white power. They love it. Finger looking good, right? So it doesn't surprise me that the Klan are allowed to exist. The most the most trouble, to my knowledge, that the Klan has gotten into in this country has been over taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up, has been over taxes. And I believe that was back in like the 19 teens, like or 1920s when they were you know, I believe it was IRS or whoever that was in charge of monies going to the government at the time. They went
Mm-hmm.
after the Klan. But yeah, so family, keep your eyes out, you know, be
If
careful.
that is not the ultimate green light, as we call it,
Mhm.
to go ahead and do what you do, I don't know what is. As
Yeah.
long as you pay me.
So um in another I guess you could call this an attack. I call it an attack. So the NBA just recently fined Kevin Durant $50,000. Ironic that Jeezy and Jenny May just donated 50K. But they fined him 50 stacks after Michael Rappaport, and I don't know if anybody knows who he is. He's this DEF list white actor who has become popular by playing in films that are supported majority, you know, by black audiences mostly. He played in the movie Higher Learning. He was Remy,
Mm-hmm.
the newly recruited Nazi skinhead who ended up killing himself at the end. He played in a movie called Zebrahead, where he was supposedly in love with this black girl. But anyway, Michael Rappaport and Kevin Durant, they had a DM exchange or argument on Instagram. And Michael Rappaport, even though, you know, and we included this exchange in the chat also, or I'm sorry, in the community number.
In the community app, yeah, we show the
So
full
you can go
exchange.
and see the exchange itself. It's laced with a lot of profanity, so we didn't want to screen share it here on the broadcast. However, what's funny is that even though Michael Rappaport went back and forth, you know, made racist in you know, references as far as telling Kevin Durant to go help the children in Brownsville, Brooklyn, when that had nothing to do with the whole conversation. even despite the fact that he went toe to toe with Kevin Durant, he then posted the conversation publicly on Twitter and claimed to feel threatened and
claimed to be victim,
played the
saying,
victim,
yeah,
right? All that. And so, what's interesting about what's that man's name, Michael Rappaport, is that he's been doing some shady stuff, man. He's been showing himself to be this, what people call this down white boy, when he's really just he's an infiltrator into our culture, into our communities, But there was an instance where he called Kenya Moore on television. He said she had some ashy feet.
I'm not as familiar with Michael Rappaport's history. I just recall the different people trying to justify why Kevin Durant needed to be fined and let go ultimately from the NFL. Because when the I'm sorry, from the NBA. Look, so for me, it's been a long week, people. But the fined and let go, and it was because the very first when the tweets first went public and viral, there was a select group of white queers who said Kevin Durant is homophobic and all this because he's tweeting certain things to this particular man where he's making homosexual acts as like butt of the joke. And anybody in the black community know that this is just it wasn't even in context of homosexuality. He said something to the paraphrasing, get off my genitals or stop sucking up somebody else's genitals.
Yeah, he said all he does is suck other men's.
Yeah, suck other people's genitals, which has nothing, even though it's very clear that that's a homosexual reference. Ultimately, the comparison is about community.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because when Superhead does it, she's not a homosexual because she's a woman. Yeah. The act of fellatio or head or whatever we calling it, that's not limited. Homosexuals don't have a monopoly on that.
For one thing. We're just talking about clout chasing. We're talking about
right. Not riding. We all and let me tell you.
I will say the narrative quickly went away. It was like they tried that, and then people was like,
yeah,
he ain't even like. What are you talking about?
And this ain't even a black thing, dude. We speak English, bro. We speak English. That is this white man's language. Okay. Mm-hmm. The metaphor using sexual acts, right? Or especially receptive sexual acts as a metaphor for someone lowering themselves or whatever has been around, since the language has been around, I would say. Mm-hmm. Now, I've heard some people say that it was misogynistic because he called him a B and the P word and stuff like that. And again, I say, blame the king for his English. Mm-hmm. and I'm talking about that the white folks who created it. You know what I'm saying? But as far as Kevin Durant, it was a private conversation. Michael Rappaport, I wouldn't say he gave as good as he got because, hey, he's lame. So he probably can't give as good as he got. You know how we can do.
Which is why he went to the public.
Which is why he went running to the public. And he knew that the NBA, as a white institution and as an arm of white economic power, would jump on his side and would go after Kevin Durant and punish him in the worst way with his pockets. So we definitely canceling Michael Rappaport. If any of you black people did not have common sense enough to not give him an invite in the first place. Says Mike Rappaport is yet another example of the poisonous nature of how NYC Jews and wealth and privilege looks down on black people.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. He need to be looking a little bit more up and in front of a mirror, because there's a lot of detail work that Michael Rappaport could be doing to be more presentable. He just looks so unpresentable.
And to my knowledge, he likes to date black women.
Mm-hmm.
You know the kind.
And they date him back. I don't get it because I don't call. First of all, people, I don't call nobody ugly. I want you to know that for me here now. I don't call people ugly at all. However, I do believe that there are folks amongst us who are attractively challenged, and I will recommend the appropriate doctors in those moments. But look, next up, serious moment. We are here with the trial.
Oh yeah,
finally. Actually, I don't. We know what was going on there, but what I'm proud to see is that there are more people in question about this particular political process at this time, and judicial process rather, because we are watching a trial for a murder that everyone saw happen, and
Mm-hmm.
we're still trying to prove, quote unquote, that it was a murder, right? And then two, the media has consistently throughout this particular case been calling it the George Floyd trial, and it's like the man's dead, and the Twitter space, my social media space, at least my timeline, seems to be a lot more apt and aware that this is the Chauvin or Chauvin or whatever his name, it doesn't matter, Chauvin case, and the language matters about these particular
Mm-hmm.
incidents. Um, but what's the details? Has there any been some new comings in the trial or?
Well, Duke, it's good that you pointed that out because that language was being used a lot.
Mm-hmm.
George Floyd, excuse my down south. We say George, so it's a little hard saying George and Floyd, but George Floyd trial is what we've heard in the beginning, and they've
Mm-hmm.
changed it. They've switched it and started calling it the Derek Chauvin trial. But if you watch some of that stuff, man, it actually is the George Floyd trial in a lot of ways because things that were brought up that just should never have been brought up
Yeah,
before.
it's always about criminalizing and
Yeah.
justifying the death of the individual. I mean, but that's the typical lens and space that these court cases work. I mean, the only quote unquote defense that they have is the fact that he did drugs, right? And that's not a defense. That's not a real defense or anything else. But because we live in a society that has put black people in the idea of black life is sacred is just does not exist in their particular concept and lens, and white men, especially white police officers, are God's gift to the earth.
Right.
And I
Well,
mean
see
that.
that.
I mean what I say with God's gift to the earth. Remember what I say about Christianity.
Mhm.
We have to deal with this nonsense. This is legit nonsense that we have to deal with. So yeah, in practice, it is the George Floyd trial because this is what they have to do in order to try to make this man appear innocent. But it's super important that we stick it and make sure that the language remains that it's Derek who's on trial here, and I hope they get it right this time.
Well, what I noticed too is that they are really trying to get in on this narrative, whereas like he was he was doing his job to the best of his knowledge and abilities, right? And trying to really take the idea of him being an intentional murderer off the table, And I've seen them go through trying to they've had trainers testify, as to what's the proper procedure and program. I was telling a brother on a thread because something happened in my hometown back in Seminole County, Florida, Sanford, Florida, where a brother was being brutalized in the John E. Polk correctional facility in Sanford,
Mm-hmm.
Florida. He was being brutalized by several correctional officers, and some fool got on and started talking about, I don't see any kicks to the head, and it looks within their protocol. And I'm like, man, f the semantics of their protocol by now, bro. I'm not interested in debating with nobody on these damn protocols when we being murdered. For one thing, they make and break their protocols on a whim. So why the hell are we still dumb enough to still be talking about it? The idea should be that these people don't have the credibility to be policing us, man.
Two
These are fucking
things.
KKK.
Two things. Producers Ben shared the link people. If you want to join in and join in with this discussion, if you have a question or comment, please come on through. Talk to us for a bit. Just remember that once you're done with your question or comment, we have to politely excuse you back to the audience because we do have a show line to keep. But Sogan mentioned the defense in the Chauvin murder so-called trial is going hard in the paint, trying to prove that George Floyd was both a big, tall super Negro of great strength and a feeble drug addict with a bad heart on the verge of dying any minute. And what I would say to that, Soga, is it is very, very similar to the story of a young teen who recently came from the store for Skittles and a sweet tea and was allegedly skipping in the rain prior to the incident, right? So it's like this idea that this young teen is so drastically overpowering of a grown man who has a gun is in at the same time with someone who was skipping and trying to taste the rainbow and
Right.
drink a sweet tea, Arizona at that. And so uh,
running back to his daddy to watch
the
the game.
the mythology of black people within a white mind has always been dangerous, right? It's just when white people conceptualize and imagine black people, we are in danger, and that is consistent throughout time. And like I said, I really hope they get it right this time. And I don't mean as far as I hope that they get it right in the sense that I want justice to be served, blah blah blah. I hope they get it right because I know that with each passing moment like this, our people are more and more angry. And I'm waiting for the quiet anger. I don't care about, you being rowdy and you arguing back and forth with people because that shows you still care, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that shows you still care. I'm waiting for that moment where you say, "Oh,
F it.
okay, Karen."
All right.
I'm waiting for that one. I'm waiting for that. Oh, okay, Bill. All right. I'm waiting for that anger. I'm waiting for that particular moment because that is the one where I know that change can occur.
Now, something interesting to point out. Soga, this is our brother. First of all, this brother, he could damn near help co-host this broadcast. But he pointed something out. He's pointing out the fact that they're trying to prove that he was both
Yeah,
big,
at the same
tall,
time.
super Negro, and yet feeble and sickly enough to die at any minute. Black people be on code, just like brother Nearly Fuller Jr. tells us. White power takes both sides of the argument. That's why I say there's no point in continuing to debate semantics of their protocols because they are dishonest, deceptive, double in their actions and words and deeds.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna take both sides of the argument. Forget George Floyd, and let's focus on Derek Chauvin for the murderer that he is. 9 minutes. I don't care how healthy or sickly you are. You can make it without 9 minutes of a knee on your neck. It's just.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, so it's.
let me tell you something. My daddy. I'm gonna tell you something. My daddy went through a real sick period in his life before he passed away. You know what I'm saying? From doctors saying he only had this many months left, and blah blah blah. He was on the verge of death. But if anybody had came in there and did something to him, that caused that process to speed up, you can't blame it on his sickness. You blame it on the actions of the damn murderer.
Mm-hmm.
So we better start calling this junk out and tell these man, hey, it's time to start delegitimizing this process as well.
Yeah, it's delegitimize it and as well as pathologize white people.
Yes.
I've been saying this for so long. Like we have to really start pathologizing white people because they are not okay. They are sick in the head. They are legitimately sick in the head, and we're afraid to say it. Like that's.
But shit,
Like literally, like sociologists have studied this. Like people have studied the sickly nature, especially the individuals in America, and that it has to be pathologized. It has to be worked on in that link. Let's see. Lana said that I'm personally at a point. If it doesn't happen, Black people need a wake up call. So we realize we have to break from the system and create our own independence and freedom. Listen, Lana, you ain't saying nothing but a word. We don't even have time for this in this particular broadcast. But for those who follow and are fans of the channel, you know that we also work with Dr. Cleo Monago. He has so much language and terminology on this. He calls it the trauma trance. When it comes to that, it's not even about the wake up call because people get quote unquote woken up anytime one of these incidents occur, but there's not enough resolve and healing and cultural affirmation and critical thinking going on where people stay woke. That's what happens in these incidents. So what I will also add here is I did a talk yesterday. I was interviewed for someone's report not too long ago, and something I said is that what good is a movement if people are not moving? Right. And one of those things is that people need to move out of the way, right? When things are going. And so when we talk about this movement and we're not focusing on moving people out of the way, then I'm looking at a stagnancy. Don't call it a movement, call it a stagnancy. Someone else had also asked about well, do you think that Black people are just unprepared for these situations as far as like what's going on? And I said that at this point, it's kind of almost a choice of being unprepared, almost, because I still recognize how trauma deals with this. But what I mean when it's a choice is that when these incidents occur, we can tell you the roadmap before the court case gets done with. We'll tell you, okay, so the cop is going to come out with the argument that they perceived something was a gun. They didn't even know that this person was actually a teenager or however old they thought they were. Then they're going to say unnamed suspect, blah, 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 blah. And then they're going to say that this person was a criminal and they got suspended one time when they was in second grade. And that is therefore extended. We know the entire roadmap of how these particular cases play out. And we still don't have an answer when the result is unfavorable to us. And so that's what I mean. It's a choice to be unprepared because we know what's going to happen. You can't say you unprepared if you know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Dance in place or move out the way. That's what Charles says. Okay. Who we got back there in the back room?
We got someone back here?
I don't know. Is anybody back there?
Okay. Listen up. We want to hear from you people. It's we got 9 minutes to the hour. We would love to hear from you. Let's see. All right. Well, what I will say right before, because we're getting ready to wrap up, what I will say is this here is the witnesses have also been doing their testimonies on this trial. And what I pay a lot of attention to in cases like this is the witnesses, especially the ones speaking usually on the behalf of the defendant. And the humanization that they have to deal with, and far as the dead body that is not humanized in this incident, but they will humanize them, as well as their own dehumanization as far as this cross-examination period. But I remember the sister who recorded it, the reason why we even know about George Floyd, she said something super powerful, and my heart aches for her, and I hope that she finds healing at some point, where she said that she has dreams still of apologizing to George Floyd for not doing enough for that moment, for not moving forward beyond pushing the record button. And I don't think she's watching this. And while I do think that as a people, we should have done more, I don't believe that on that individual it should have had that much responsibility. And so I will say that, you know, in a situation like that, they had even a white fire. I didn't even know this particular incident. I didn't know about this more until the case was happening. There was even a white firefighter there who was off duty, who saw what was going on and was putting herself out there trying to check his pulse at least, and she was pushed back and told that she was be interfering with everything else, and she just kept, you know, yelling at them back and forth. There's also another black professional wrestler there. I believe he was a wrestler of some sort, and he was letting them know, look, I'm a professional wrestler. I know what you are doing to this man's windpipe at this moment. You gotta stop. And the brazenness of racism is clear. And so we have to be as brazen with our resistance at this point. And that's all I have to say.
Lana wants to know how she can get a shirt, a value Black people shirt.
With that, Lana, I'm glad you asked. Please, anyone willing to get a shirt, please text 410-826-6264. I'm sorry, I said 04-6264. And with that, when you text the shirt, and text the community number and letting them know about the shirt, we can direct you to the appropriate pass. I do know that it'll be a website link, but getting inside of our community is the best way to stay up with all of our products, because we don't just have shirts. We also have red caps that say, I wish Black America was woke again. So that is also in there, but we also have various other different rewards and things. Stay locked into our programs, people. Thank you. Please like, share, comment, subscribe.
Peace, melanoids.
Yep.